Serial killers thrive in shadows, but some are bold enough to leave their work out in the open. Brazen displays meant to shock entire cities. In today's video, we'll look at two chilling murder sprees, separated by decades and an ocean. The Cleveland Torso Murders of the 1930s and the Thames Torso Murders of Victorian London. Both cases left detectives baffled, both filled newspapers with horror, and both remain unsolved to this day.
The 1930s were hard years in America. In Cleveland, Ohio, the Great Depression had hit especially hard. Homeless camps lined the city's Kingsbury Run district, a rough stretch of shacks, railroads and alleys. It was here that a killer, later nicknamed the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, began to hunt. In September of 1934, the headless body of a young man was found near Jackass Hill in Cleveland. His body had been cleanly dismembered and his skin treated with a chemical that caused it to turn red and leathery. A year later, in September of 1935, two more headless bodies, one male and one female, were discovered within yards of each other in Kingsbury Run. It was clear Cleveland had a serial killer. Most victims were marginalized, vagrants, sex workers, or people living in poverty, making them harder to identify. The killer seemed to deliberately target those who wouldn't be quickly missed. By 1936, public panic forced the city to act. Eliot Ness, the famous prohibition agent who helped bring down Al Capone, was Cleveland's safety director. He ordered massive raids on Kingsbury Run, burning down shantytowns in hopes of flushing out the killer. But it didn't work. More bodies appeared. Several suspects were interrogated, including a doctor with mental health issues, but no one was ever charged. The killings suddenly stopped in 1938, leaving the mystery unsolved. To this day, the Cleveland Torso Murders remain one of America's most notorious unsolved serial cases. The brutality, the targeting of the vulnerable, and the sheer boldness of leaving bodies in public still haunt the city of Cleveland nearly a century later. Half a world away, decades earlier, London was also facing a reign of terror. Everybody knows about Jack the Ripper, who stalked Whitechapel in 1888, but at the same time, another killer was at work, one just as brutal, but far less known, the Thames Torso Killer. This murderer wasn't satisfied with stabbing. He cut his victims into pieces. In May of 1887, workers at the New Scotland Yard headquarters made a grisly discovery. A woman's torso was found inside a parcel in the basement. Her arms, legs, and head were all missing. Just a year later, in 1888, body parts began appearing in the Thames River. Arms, legs, and torsos floating in the current. The victims were mostly women, though none were ever fully identified. Between 1887 and 1889, at least 4 women were butchered, dismembered, and dumped around London. Some were left in the river, others hidden in secluded locations like railway arches. Unlike Jack the Ripper, who struck in alleys, this killer seemed to take time, dismembering victims in private. and then disposing of the pieces in different places. The Torso Murders coincided almost exactly with Jack the Ripper's spree. Because of this, the press largely ignored them, focusing instead on the more theatrical Ripper letters and street killings. But some detectives wondered if the two killers were the same man. After all, the crimes overlapped and both targeted women on society's margins. Still, the methods were different. The Torso killer was careful, deliberate, surgical. Jack the Ripper was fast, frenzied and chaotic. By the year 1889, the dismembered bodies stopped appearing. No suspects were ever convicted. The Thames Torso killer vanished as suddenly as he began, leaving London with not one, but two unsolved serial killers in the late 1800s. The Cleveland Torso Murders and the Thames Torso Murders are separated by half a century and thousands of miles, but their similarities are chilling. Both killers preyed on the vulnerable. Both dismembered their victims with horrifying precision, and both displayed their crimes for the world to see, daring police to catch them. Yet, despite fear, panic, and massive investigations, both murderers walked away, identities unknown. Two cities, two butchers, and two sets of questions that may never be answered.